welcome to DNN. I gotta fix that. I gotta fix that intro. It says I'm overloaded. Well, it happens. You know what? We'll get better. So anyway, welcome to DNN, everybody. It's our third show. I think I've had about 1 trillion viewers. Probably. I mean, this channel's just popping. It's popping with its, like, 78 viewers, man. Or it's 78 views. It's popping. So, today's show is called Russia. It's about Russia, the Russia election meddling. You know, a lot of people's covered it. A lot of people still covering it. The news is still covering it. It's odd though, isn't it? You know, that goes with my other show, is how the media is using, how the government's using the media to how the government is using the media to stop looking to not look behind the scenes to see what they're doing, which, you know, they've been doing the last 2 years, if you haven't noticed. And like, if you hadn't noticed it, or if it hasn't came to your attention after I said it, then you know, I can't help you with that. But it's true. So anyway, I was doing some reading today about the Electoral College, and which I have a big problem with the Electoral College. Huge problem with it. I believe in the popular vote. That's just me. The popular vote lets the people have more power. Instead of having 538 people, and they're like, well, no, that's not exactly how it works. Is, you know, those 538 people vote with whatever the popular vote says. That's not true. So whoever told you that is a lie. It's just a plain lie. And I'll tell you why. Even if you think otherwise, let me explain it to you so you'll understand. Because a lot of people my age, there's more than half the United States they have an inkling about how it works, but not how it really works. They don't understand why the Electoral College was started. They don't know why it's being used. They know why it's being used, but they really don't know why it's being used. As I got older, I couldn't understand why it wasn't being used. And you're like, well, what's that got to do with the Russia meddling? Well, you're getting ready to find out how the Russia meddling, in my opinion, is just a big scheme. It's media material is what it is. It's media material. It's something to get your attention away from what's happening in the background. It's to keep your eye on Trump. It's to keep your eye off of Agenda 21 and that what they're getting ready to implement. As you know, all the other YouTube channels that are on here that are giving you information about all this, you know, they're telling you the same thing I am. I haven't watched any lately, but, you know, I've watched them. So they usually tell you what, you know, what's going on, and some creepy crap that's going on, and crap that just doesn't make any sense. So what the Electoral College is a body of electors established by the United States Constitution. the Constitution, it elects a president every 4 years, vice president as well. I'm trying to read this and think at the same time. I mean, I will, but I'm trying not to. I'm trying to put it in my own words. So the Electoral College consists of 538 electors. You have to have 270 electors in order for a president to win. So those 538 electors, most people think that those 538 electors are random people. They're not. Those random people are chosen. Nobody knows who they are. I think one year, one electoral voter came out and said, yes, I'm an electoral voter. You're allowed to say who you are. The government doesn't want you to, because that way you can be influenced, but who chooses the electoral voters? Well, groups. It says groups. Groups choose the electoral voters. From what mine, and I'll read a little bit about who chooses that later. And so, anyway, electoral voters actually have 41 days after the popular vote to submit their vote. They don't have to submit it right then. They have 41 days. So, what happens? So, what's the rules for the electoral voters? The rules for the electoral voters are, there hardly isn't any. I'll show you those in a minute. Now, let's get to why there is an electoral college. So the electoral college was started by our founding fathers. So right here we're on factcheck.org. As you know, it's a reputable fact check site. And as you can see, it says the reason for the electoral college. Well, all this is true information. The United States history, what is taught in school, is totally different than what the truth is. You're taught a little bit on how it works and the basics of how it works. So, why does the U.S. have an electoral college? And the answer: the framers of the Constitution didn't trust direct democracy. Now, who said that was James Madison. He was our fourth president. The founding fathers believed that the people, well, they really didn't know how democracy was going to work. It was technically it was experimental, and that's exactly what. If you listen to General Mattis's speech on Sunday about national security and preparedness, which was weird. I've never seen a general give a speech like that. So, in his speech, he included that democracy was, in fact, experimental. And James Madison said the same thing. So, why does the United States have an electoral college when it would be so easy to directly elect a president as we do for all other political parties, all political offices? What they're meaning by that is the popular vote. We use the popular vote for everything else. Okay, we use the popular, even for local offices, we use the popular vote. But for some odd reason, which would make it odd, it would be odd. It's odd that everything else is the same except for the presidential election. It's weird, isn't it? So, why is it different? And I'm getting ready to explain that. So, the reason it's different is because James Mattis, the forefathers, didn't want a particular group or a particular state or a certain group of people or a certain faction to be able to elect a president. And that's odd because that's exactly what's going on today with our political parties. You have a certain group, which is generally will do the two basics, which is Republican and Democrat. Those are political parties and or factions that they were talking about. They are those factions. They are those groups. They are those states. They didn't want any single group to be able to do that. So they made the Electoral College. Well, if you haven't noticed, that part of their thinking doesn't apply today. That applied back then when there was 400 people in this state, 700 people in this state, 1,000 people in this state. That's when it applied, which I understand the thinking behind that. So that's the reason why for the electoral voting, but that's only one president's view. That's only one president's view. So the reason that the Constitution calls for this extra layer, rather than just providing the direct election of the president, the popular vote, is that most of the nation's founders were actually rather afraid of democracy. They didn't know how it was going to work. They had no idea. It was all new to them. James Madison worried about what he called factions, just like as I said, which he defined as groups of citizens who have a common interest in some proposal that would either violate the rights of other citizens or would harm the nations as a whole. And that is actually being done today. Those factions are your political parties. So what he said there, what he didn't know the outcome of what he may have known the outcome. He may have known. That's why he put it in there. But he didn't know how democracy was going to end up, because back then they didn't have political parties. But he wasn't worried about it. I mean, they may have had Republican and Democrat back then, but I doubt it. I think it was just like maybe a Tea Party type of thing was back then. So anyway, Alexander Hamilton, this was his reason that he wrote in the Federalist Papers: the Constitution is designed to ensure that the office of the president will never fall to the lot of any man who is not in eminent degree endowed with the requisite qualifications. Meaning, they didn't want a president. They didn't want the people to be able to elect a president that was stupid, that didn't have the right qualifications to be the president. They didn't want you to elect a bread maker to be president. They didn't want you to, or baker to be president. They didn't want you to elect an electrician to be president. However, that's exactly how democracy is supposed to work. That's exactly how an election is supposed to work. We don't have jobs. There is not a job that says, when I grow up, there's not a job category called political person. You're a political person once you get into office. There's no job category that states you work for a certain political person or a certain political group. There's no occupation for that. When we're supposed to elect people that we think are going to be good, that are going to be fair and for the people. Well, the president back then, Alexander Hamilton or James Madison, decided that the people basically weren't fit to be able to elect their own president. They were scared that democracy was going to cause us to elect somebody that didn't know what they were doing. And when in fact, nobody actually knows how to run a country. Just about every president has basically tiptoed their way through office. Not every president knows about everything that goes on in the government. There's no way for every person ever elected to know anything. The only way for that to happen is if you're a lifelong senator and you become a president, or in my opinion, I think you need to be have served in the military in order to be president. You can't be commander in chief of the United States Armed Forces without knowing what it means to be part of that and know what it means to be the leader of that. That's just my opinion. So anyway, he also wrote in the Federalist Papers that the point of the Electoral College is to preserve the sense of the people, while at the same time ensuring that a president is chosen by men most capable of analyzing the qualities adapted to the station and acting under circumstances favorable to deliberation and to a judicious combination of all the reasons and inducements which were proper to govern their choice. Like I said, you, the citizens, are not smart enough or have enough common sense to elect your own president. And you basically don't know. He's saying you don't know what we need as a president. So the Electoral College was invented. I'm telling you, the reason why it was invented is because you, the people, they didn't have faith in their citizens already. The Constitution was set up that way because they didn't believe they had faith in their own citizens to elect a president that was basically smart enough or good enough to be president. They was worried about that. They was afraid of democracy. They was afraid you was going to elect somebody stupid to be president. So instead, they added in the Electoral College and basically said, hey, we're going to find a bunch of people who we know are smart and we know who they have common sense. And pretty much these people have been vetted, basically. And we know for a fact that they will do a good job electing a president. So I've said this a lot. Do you feel that your vote still counts? After hearing that, do you still feel that your vote still counts? After hearing that the government initially, and still now, because we still use the same system, those rules have not changed. Do you feel that your vote still counts after knowing that the government and the office of the presidency doesn't feel that you're capable, you the citizens are capable of electing your own president? Once I found all this out, which was years ago, I didn't. I didn't. I was, I was dumbfounded. I was dumbfounded. I had no clue. I had no clue as to why we had the electoral system. I had no clue as to what it was for, or why do we not, why do we have an electoral vote based on the popular vote? That just doesn't make sense, and it doesn't. Why do we need the popular vote in order to have an electoral vote? That's just too many. Two votes too many. There's two systems too many. And then I finally figured it out, and I finally read exactly why we had the system. And basically, it was they're telling you that you're too stupid, and they don't think you have enough sense to elect a president that has the qualifications to be a leader of the United States. So they basically said, out with that, and we'll do it for you. So basically, the government is choosing the people that will elect your president for you. And those people are elected by groups. So, all right, so they basically rounded up over time. The number of electoral voters went up over time for each state. All right, so the number now it's up to 538. It's up to 500 and I believe it's up to 538. Yeah, I think it's 538. So they rounded it. So now it's up to 538. So all these 538 people, a group has picked your president and the country's president for the last, I don't know, 200 years. 300, 250 years, 200 years. And like I said, after, if you read this, they have to wait 41. They can cast their vote 41 days afterwards. So now that you know the truth about electoral voters, I was going to go into the Russian meddling thing, how that applies to the Russian meddling thing. So let me go into the laws. Laws for electoral voters. Okay, what's this say right here? I'll see. Try to make that a little bigger for you, just so you'll see it a little bit better. How's that? Under that is archives.gov, and I typed in laws for electoral voters. It says when, this is the government website, a federal government website, when the voters in each state cast votes for the president candidate of their choice, they are voting to select their state's electors. There is no constitutional provision or federal law that requires electors to vote according to the result of the popular vote in their states. There is absolutely no law for electoral voters to vote for the person that you said to vote for. Secondly, the people who you vote for during your part of the popular vote as president, those presidents are chosen for you. And do you not understand how that happens? That happens through the GOP and the DNC. That happens through the Democratic National, the caucuses, the groups that support the president. Because if you don't go through their respective caucuses, that for some reason, then they won't support you as president. That's why most of the smaller Tea Party and independent people don't get much funding. Because the caucuses say, hey, we're gonna give you all a crap ton of money for you to be president. We're gonna give you all this money. And each respective party does that. So you got all these people that it's basically what I'm trying to say is the elections for the president are rigged prior to even Russia even knowing about it. Russia does not need to meddle in our elections for our elections to be rigged. That's basically the point I'm trying to make. Okay, so it said that Russia hacked the voting machines, the voting machines for the popular vote. That doesn't make a bit of difference. None of that, even your popular vote, does not make a bit of difference at this point. From what I told you, your electors are chosen for you. The electoral voters are going to choose who they want to vote for. Now, I'm going to show you how easy our elections have been rigged for a long time, if you don't know. We didn't need Russia to come in and interfere with the elections in order for Trump to be president, or Barack Obama, or Clinton, or Bush, or Reagan, or Carter, or Eisenhower, Roosevelt. None of them. Because while we always had the popular vote, or the electoral college, it was all set up for you. Like I said, because the federal government didn't believe that the people, that you, the citizens, were capable of choosing a president. As I just told you, yes, those are facts. Yes, all that is true. Now, some people will say, oh, well, the state's population, most of the time the state's population is goes with the electoral vote. Most of the time that is true. But like I said, the caucuses prior to you doing that, all those people are chosen for you by a group of people. How many times have you seen a write-in on a ballot? How many times have you seen, really, they should all be write-ins on a ballot. So let's see how much it would cost. How much it would cost to rig an election in today's age. Yes, I smoke. Let's see. This was the same thing as a while ago. That's not it. Well, anyway. Anyway, the fine. Okay, so the fine, as you see here, for not voting for the popular vote and voting your own way is $1,000. That's what they get fined. It's not, oh, we gotta elect the other president, or the other president didn't get the amount of votes he said he was supposed to get, so he needs to be president or deserves to be president. None of that. $1,000 fine for electoral voters who don't vote the way of the popular vote. Half the time, they don't even pay that. So knowing that there's no jail time, you don't get in any big ass trouble because nobody knows who you are. Nobody knows who those electoral voters are. So, like I said, you get $1,000 fine for not voting. Okay, so here's one: 2016, 4 Washington electors to be fined $1,000 for not voting for Clinton. There's another one: Washington State electors fined $1,000 for not voting for Clinton. Maybe they do. Maybe justice was served. But still, the president that gets elected, your vote still counts, and that president still stays the president. So how much would it cost to actually? How much would it cost a president or anyone running for the presidential office? How much would it cost them to win the presidency? Seeing as how you need 270 electoral votes. Right now it would cost you $270,000. Now, to pay those people off, because they're not just going to pay a fine. Those people would want more than that. You know, even I would. If I was a scumbag and I didn't vote the way of the popular vote, I would want more than that. I'd be like, dude, if you want me to elect you president and you're willing to pay my $1,000 fine and get the federal government up my ass, which the federal government shouldn't have anything to do with voting in the first place. Voting is a right of the citizens. It does not have a damn thing to do with the federal government. The federal government should make laws where they don't interfere with the voting system. In my opinion, the federal government has too much power with everything. So, all right, so you got all $270,000 to put a president in office. So, how much would it really take to pay some of these people off? $50,000, $100,000 each. How much campaign money does each person get to campaign? How much campaign money does each person get to fund their campaign, to fund their election? Millions. I think Hillary Clinton got almost over $100 million, maybe even more than that. And for some reason, though, nobody ever talks about where that campaign money goes to. It's supposed to go back to the DNC, or it's supposed to go back to the GOP, or it's supposed to go somewhere other besides their pocket. Anyway, honestly, it could take less than $1 million to be a president here. That's how much money it would take. There are no laws, just as I told you, there are no laws keeping an electoral voter from voting the opposite of the popular vote. There's nothing. That's it, a $1,000 fine. And those fines are created usually by the state and not the federal government. So the states do that. So now, back to my title. And what this show's about. Russia meddling. Do you honestly think that Russia needed to interfere with voter boxes? Do you honestly think they needed to put up ads, which was the main thing that they did, was to coerce people to put up ads to make Hillary look bad, or to make Trump look bad, or to make whoever look bad? Are you people really that naive and really that gullible that you let a TV ad tell you who to vote for? Is that what the government was talking about? Is that what James Madison and Alexander Hamilton and George Washington, is that the reason why they put that in there, is because of that right there about the electoral voters? Do you think that Russia influenced you in any way, shape, or form? I doubt Russia even done anything. As I proved to you just now, by what the electoral college really is, why it really exists, do you think Russia even needed to interfere with our voting system? No, not at all. Their interfering caused nothing, no problem. Even if they did, their interfering caused no problem, because our electoral voters, our system for voting is fucked. There's about 4 different ways that it can be rigged without Russia even meddling in it. And if you don't think that another country hasn't realized that by now, especially Vladimir Putin, oh, he knows. I know. The Electoral College, it was made because, as I said, you just saw it. If you read the Federalist Papers, you will understand why the government doesn't put that. I mean, they talk about in the Constitution that the power goes to the people. That is untrue because they didn't even think you could vote. You didn't even have enough sense to vote for the right president. They thought you didn't have enough sense to do that. They thought you were stupid. That part, even since then, the electoral, since George Washington, since Alexander Hamilton, James Madison, none of that has changed since then. Our Constitution is outdated. They are not going to change the voting portion of it. Legislation in some states, the Senate tries to put a bill in. Actually, one senator tries to put a bill in, a House bill in every year, trying to get rid of the Electoral College. And they say no. They say no every time. They don't want to get rid of it. Everything the Constitution says, and the whole voting process in the United States can be rigged. It has been rigged. It is being rigged. We don't need Russia for that at all. So now, let me get to the point as to why I'm talking about all this. Russia, the mainstream media is covering nothing but Trump and Russia, as I said in the other videos. Trump and Russia constantly. And that's all it is. It's Russia collusion this, Russia collusion that. After me telling you what I just told you, and you knowing that there would even be no reason for Russia to interfere in our election, because technically they couldn't. They have no power either way it goes. Even if they fingered the electronic box from another computer in any way, shape, or form, it wouldn't make a bit of difference. The popular vote doesn't count anyway, and I don't even know why they have it if they have the Electoral College. Because it really doesn't matter what the popular vote says. All the way down the line of the voting process and how it works, every step is being chosen for you. Every step is being chosen for you. So, that being said, what is the reason behind all this Russian collusion, all the Trump and crap? You gotta find a way for the media to stay away from from what's happening in the background of the government. You have to. I mean, for 2 years we've been hearing Trump. For 2 years we've been hearing Russian collusion. For 2 years we've been hearing Hillary Clinton emails. For 2 years we've been hearing Trump's illegal this, illegal that. We've heard that he's racist. He was sitting beside the president during George Bush's funeral. And people started saying he was racist, started saying he was a bad person. He didn't sing a song, and he was a bad person. Because he didn't sing a song. He probably didn't know it. Trump is not, you got people in the United States that are taking God out of everything, out of the school system, out of everyday life, trying to take it out of the government, trying to take it out of everyday life. The government was built on the foundation and the morals of the Bible. Was it not? In God we trust. All of it, the Constitution and every bit of it, was built on the foundation of the morals of Jesus Christ. And then all of a sudden, liberal people in the United States, and I'm not saying they're bad or they're wrong or whatever, but the liberal people, what I am trying to say is the liberal and the Democrat people took God out of church, or God out of the school system, God out of the government, and then they turn around and make fun of their own president, saying that he didn't know, he's a bad person for not knowing the hymn to a song while the other presidents sing it. A hymn is supposed to be about God and church. So how are you going to be hypocritical about that? And let me explain why. Anything Trump does is going to be bad. And everything, no matter what he does, it's going to be bad to the Democratic and liberal people. And then the Republican people are going to come back and say, that's bad. You shouldn't do that to, it's a clash. It's a clashing. It's civil unrest. It's causing more and more civil unrest. Like my video was yesterday. It's all about hiding what the government is doing in the background. Agenda 21 is being implemented in the background, and the people of the United States is being misstrued or being fucked with or played with and toyed with in such a fake, horrid way that it's not even funny. You are being told to be angry about what's on the media. The media is doing nothing but following Trump. The Russian collusion probably didn't even happen. More than likely. As friendly as Trump is with Vladimir Putin ain't hardly, if you haven't noticed, Vladimir Putin hasn't said shit. He's a mean motherfucker. He is mean. He does not care. He will just assume to blow any country up than to fuck with you. And you know this. He would just assume to blow you up. If you haven't figured out that their country is still communist, they are. I mean, they are still communist. Just like China's still communist. Just like Cuba. Cuba's still communist. It's going to stay communist. But like I said, the Russian collusion probably, more than likely, wasn't even real. It's just something for the media to focus on. It's something for the media to cover while what's going on in the background with the government, while the government implements Agenda 21. What I'm trying to say is all this crap that this is just one of the things that the media is focusing on. One of the stories. You got the immigration, the caravans. It's being done the same way. Have you not heard the rumors about them being funded? I've seen it with my own eyes. People who've walked 4,000 miles and 3,000 miles to come to the United States have brand new cameras in their hand, have brand new shoes. I've seen it myself. I've seen it myself. All these people are being bought food and water through their whole journey up through here. I'm not saying that the government, it's a conspiracy about the government doing that only for the Democratic purpose of it. For what the Democrats are saying, they need more voters. Voters don't matter. Voters do not matter in this day and age. None of them do. Not when you still have an electoral college system. It doesn't matter. The UN started the Agenda 21 thing, and 2 years ago, they decided to tell the states to start implementing it. By 2030, They are wanting all control of every country. They're wanting you total control and sustainability is what they call it. So economic sustainability is what they call it. And part of what I'm showing you about this Russian collusion, just like I said, is part of all the bullshit it's bullshit. The Russian collusion, the migrant caravan bullshit, the Trump Moscow crap, all that is just blocking you from seeing what's going on in the background. That's why it's been Trump for 2 fucking years. That's why they have not stopped reporting on Trump for 2 years. How do you think that the government, how do you think that, do you think, honestly think that in 10 billion, when it reaches 10 billion, the government's going to wait for 10 or 11 billion people to get to 10 or 11 billion people and people start starving to death before they do something? Do you honestly think that that's going to happen? At that point, they would have no control. There would be chaos. And Agenda 21 is a controlled descent down. It's a controlled descent down. They have to maintain control while implementing it. Otherwise, they'll lose all control and there will be no government. That's why they're doing it. The first part of all this is I mean, you basically, yesterday I told you that the government has pretty much counteracted every freedom and law there is for a citizen in the United States with their own over the years. Every law, every freedom and law. What freedoms do you have? Tell me. I would love to know. I mean, somebody write in the comments if you're watching this whole video. Tell me what kind of freedoms you have. You have the right to spend money. Every freedom that the Constitution says you can use or do costs you money. Oh, you have the freedom to own your own home. Yes, own your own home through purchase. Yes, it costs money. And what one girl argued with me, said, I've got the right to lay in my backyard naked. I said, you do? I said, to lay in your backyard naked, what does that cost you? Nothing. I'm like, are you sure? I said, man, are you sure it didn't cost you anything to lay in that backyard naked? No, I just went outside and took off my clothes and I lay out there naked. The girl said the same thing. I said, did you rent or buy that house? Why, yeah. I said, okay. I said, go lay in somebody else's backyard naked. If you're free, go lay in somebody else's yard naked. You're not free to lay around naked. You're free to do whatever you want as long as you have the money to do it. There are laws. I showed you a law yesterday that states that civil disobedience is nonviolent. There are laws against that. There are laws against cussing out a cop. There are laws against flicking off a cop saying, fuck you. The government, as I said, is causing civil unrest and civil disobedience in order to implement Agenda 21. Just like the Russian interference, the Russian collusion. They are causing all that. And you know what? I'm gonna show you something else. Why something else to go along with that. There's a new senator out of Brooklyn, Queens, New York, and I can't for the love of me. I don't know what her name is. Let's see if I can get it. And she's actually a hell of a senator. She's a heck of a senator. And let me move this over here so you don't see my password. And my login information. How's that? So you get to see one of those screens. Oh, crap. My bad. Ow. My belt's sticking into me. It's alright. Oh. So anyway, let's go down through here and find her. I think, I don't know how to pronounce her name. I think she's Latino. She's Latino. See, like, look at that. Breaking news, Trump chooses Xbox News host Heather Newart as new U.S. ambassador to the UN. You know, all that crap is going to... All that crap is going to be... is nothing but... it's... Trump is being used as a patsy for all that crap, man. Oh, there's a, right there. Listen to that. That is France. That's what's happening in France right now. That right there. That is civil unrest. That is civil disobedience. That's a riot. And look at that. I'll turn that down a little. That's a riot. All because of a gas tax. Gas tax. Look at that. France is on fire. Look at that. Look up at the top of the screen. France is freaking on fire because of gas taxes. That is civil disobedience. Look at that. Look at that. That is just, and you don't understand what I'm saying. A lot of people don't. They want that to happen. Here in the United States, the government wants that to happen so they can declare martial law and Agenda 21 goes off without a hitch, just like that. You know, there's the government puts out a lot of they make a lot of to me I see a lot of things that the government slowly implements. Okay, so you got like all these mass shootings, all these bombs and all of that. You know, how do we know that the government is not that we already know that the government wants to take our guns away. We already know that the Democrats want to take the guns away and the Republicans are saying no. The people are saying no. But in order to change your mind, it just all right. So they started doing that. What after the Florida shooting, right? After Florida's shooting, Columbine, they wanted to take away your guns. You heard about it for a little while. So it just so happens after that Florida shooting, you heard, oh my God, there was 5 mass shootings a freaking week after that. Why? Why the sudden influx in mass shootings? Why the sudden influx involving guns? Okay, so when that happens, when you got that happening, the government can slowly implement or force its will on you because it becomes the norm. Something becomes the norm. And all right, so if the government can get people to assassinate other people, if they can have enough mass shootings, finally enough people or a majority of the population or the Senate will eventually say, yes, take our guns. We'll give them to you. They want you to give them to you. They want you to give them up. They want you to. They know they can't force you to. But if they can make enough mass shootings, yes, I'm saying that. Yes, I'm saying what you think I'm saying. I can guarantee you that they're making mass shootings happen, and you're like, oh, that's full. You're fucking crazy. You're fucking crazy. Oh, my bad. We have programs and agencies that don't exist. We have programs and agencies that kill people around the world. Edward Snowden told you that you were being wiretapped and you didn't even know it. Edward Snowden told you that your emails were being read. You didn't know it. People plan, the United States plans, and yes, they have a law, they have executive orders. Bush has, I don't know how many executive orders he had. He had executive orders and press briefings where he would, they would tell the CIA to assassinate somebody, and he would watch the video of it every morning at a press briefing in the Oval Office in the briefing room. So don't tell me that the government isn't capable of initiating something like that. There's words that there's agencies that don't even have 3 letters, that they have 1 letter. They have a number. And you don't believe that they would put together a mass shooting in order to change the law? If they didn't think, if they have an agenda, they have to keep that agenda. I mean, look at the Muskogee thing. Nothing's being said about that. But at the same time, what's weird is Trump's not saying nothing about it. But at the same time, our gas prices dropped after that, didn't it? After a man got murdered, our gas prices dropped. Trump decides to not say nothing about it, and our gas prices drop. Coincidence? If you believe in coincidences are nothing but, or conspiracy and coincidences are nothing but things that you only have this much information about, that much. You only have a little bit of information, and there's enough people with enough common sense, such as myself, that can see through the bullshit. I'm going to tell you now, I used to be a drug addict, and I used to be a bad person. I've done some things in my life that I myself am ashamed of, that I should have never done. And I've done them for a long time. I have just about as much street smart as a person. And, I used to sell drugs all the time. I used to do drugs. I used to sell drugs. I was raised in the country, and I have street smarts. I spent half of my life in the country on a farm, and the other half on the street. And I paid my debt to society for all that. I asked people for forgiveness, I couldn't stand around and wait for it. I wasn't going to get on my knees for the next 25 years and beg for forgiveness. I had to forgive myself eventually, and that was the main thing. But anyway, a lot of people don't have street smarts nowadays. A lot of people don't have common sense. Most of those people are called millennials. And what I see is stuff like this that's going on. And like I said, after the high school shooting happened, after the shooting happened at that workplace in California, in San Bernardino, the San Bernardino work shooting, after that happened, it was on like Donkey Kong then. There was a mass shooting every week. Because they know that they know that they can't take your guns, but if they create enough mass shooting events, they know you'll give them up. They'll know that you all will get tired of having your loved ones killed every day. And they'll kill as many people as they need in order to do so. It's the government, man. I mean, if you totally trust the government with everything, the government doesn't trust the government with everything. And if you trust the government even halfway, then you were born yesterday. Anyway, I wanted to show you that. And I also here it is. Her name is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Okay? If you can read that right there, it says I retweeted it, but she tweeted it. She was at an orientation for all the new senators. Okay, so she was at an orientation for all the new senators that were elected this year. It says our bipartisan congressional orientation is co-hosted by a corporate lobbyist group. Other members have quietly expressed to me their concern that this wasn't told to us in advance. Why would a corporate lobbyist or corporate CEOs be at orientation for a congressperson who needs to run the government? They don't. Seriously, that is like me going to orientation at Pizza Hut and having a Walmart employee co-hosting it, telling me what I need to do and what all this is about. That's just fucking retarded. So who were they? Goldman Sachs was one of them. The lobbyists are here. Goldman Sachs is here. She's asking, where's the labor activists, the frontline community leaders? Where's the vice president? Where's Mitch McConnell? Where's the other members of government? Where are they at? And this woman right here is going to be the real deal. She knows what's going on. This woman right here is the new Senate. She had zero. Nobody funded her campaign. It was all money from herself. I think she worked at a pizza place. She worked at a pizza place and got voted in. Gary Cohen, former CEO of Goldman Sachs, addressing new members of Congress today. And one of his things is, you guys are way over your head and you don't know how the game is played. That's what that CEO told the new Congress people. They don't know how the game is played. This shit is no game, man. This shit is no game. Invited panelists offer insights to inform new Congress members' views. Invite panel to views as they prepare to legislate. Number of corporate CEOs we've listened to here, 4. She's listened to 4 corporate CEO people. And you think, and people think, that they have a clue as to what's going on in the government. There is no reason for 4 people, 4 CEOs of companies to be at an orientation for lawmakers. As a matter of fact, Trump made lobbyists illegal. They're not even supposed to be there. That was one of his executive orders he made. You know, and I think she's not even running as an independent. She's running as she's an independent. She's not running as a Democrat or a Republican or a Tea Party or nothing like that. I don't know what she may be. She may be a Democrat. I don't know, but it don't really matter. It don't really matter. But anyway, like I said, the government is getting ready to take the United States by storm, and you're letting it happen. For the last 200 years, presidents have been chosen for you. They've taken every freedom that you have away. They've enacted laws to stop other laws. They've made laws to where they strip your freedoms, and even if the smallest thing happens, they take your freedom away. They could take your freedom away just like that. And what are you going to do to stop them? As I said, they have the government can deploy the military on United States soil now as a National Guard, as the National Guard. They do both. The U.S. and there's an executive order, like I showed you yesterday, that states that the U.S. Army can be deployed as a military and on its own people. The Constitution, the amendments state that the Navy, it doesn't even state that you can't use the Marines or the Navy or the Coast Guard, for that matter. It doesn't state that. It just says the U.S. Army, and then all of a sudden an executive order pops up by Obama saying that you can't, but that the U.S. can use the military. That's why Trump's using the military at the border. Just as I told you yesterday, there are PPDs and executive orders that you don't know exist that only come out in times of chaos or disorder or war. You'll never know until you break those laws. I mean, when laws are made even in your local town, are you ever told or informed about those laws? When your local law enforcement has to, have you ever been pulled over by a police officer because a new law was implemented that you didn't know and you got a ticket for it? That's exactly the way it is with the federal government. They enact laws and they don't tell you. The legislature enacts laws and they don't tell you. You know, we got a lot of people are talking about the grand solar minimum. They're talking about earthquakes. You know, last year the Earth's spin slowed down, and scientists said that because the Earth's spin will slow down, we will have more major earthquakes and more major seismic events. And we have. Just about every earthquake we've had over the last year has been a 5.0 or greater. India has seen the greatest amount of earthquakes they've ever seen in their history. They have 10 or more 5.0 earthquakes a day. They have tsunami warnings twice a day in India, right off the coast, right there at those islands. You know, they're having those every day. We have a lot of things going on right now, and if you don't think that the government's not going to take control when something hits the fan, or they're going to strip every freedom you have to implement. They're trying to find their best way, their best in to implement Agenda 21. And that starts out with the depopulation of the United States, or the depopulation of the planet. You just can't control 10 billion people. They're having a hard time doing it now. They're not going to... something has to be done. It's the wrong way to do it. They shouldn't be doing it. The Bible states that in a world war, that part of the end of times is one world government. It's a one world government. Have you not seen people talking about the company in Wisconsin microchipping people? Companies in Illinois microchipping people. States had to pass laws when it first started saying that you couldn't microchip people forcibly. They had to voluntarily accept it. Why would you need to even pass a law that says that? there's no reason for anybody to pass a law that's that's just common sense. In my opinion, we shouldn't even be microchipping dogs. You don't want to microchip a dog. And I know this sounds stupid, but honestly, a dog is just like a human. The dog, the canine race is just like the human race. They don't know that they're pets. They think that they are on their own race of people, just like we do. Just like every species on the planet thinks that they are their own race. I know they're not intelligent, as just like humans are, but they are their own race of a species. They are their own species. They don't know that we control them. I'm just saying. Do you think dogs, if dogs could speak, do you think that they would have a freaking microchip planted in their body saying that they belong to somebody? Hell no, they wouldn't. Just like you wouldn't. But anyway, why would we need to make laws saying that we can't do that? That's stupid. But anyway, I just wanted to show you all about the Russian collusion and all that. Russia's saying that we didn't do anything. The United States is saying they did. It's just back and forth, back and forth. It's been back and forth for 2 years. Go turn your TV on, CNN or Fox right now. Go turn it on. If it's not already on there. Go turn it on any news channel, and see, or whenever the news comes on, and see if there's something about Trump or Russia collusion or the caravan, and see if that's not what the whole story is. Watch CNN. Watch CNN for the next week. Watch CNN for the next week. Then turn around and watch Fox for the next week. Whatever you want to do. But you have to believe me when I say all that is just a bunch of nonsense. All that is just a bunch of nonsense in order to block you out. And so you don't pay attention to what's going on in the background. I can almost guarantee you that the government is going to cause civil unrest in the United States. The stock market's getting ready to fall. I've been getting warnings, emails from my stockbroker people for the last 6 months saying that the stock market's going to crash. I have. I get them all the time. The stock market's going to crash. The stock market's going to crash. All the time. I mean, here, I can find it. I mean, even Wall Street. That's why they wanted to raise, the Feds wanted to raise the rates. Big retirement loses if the stock market crashes tomorrow. 1 day ago. Tomorrow, as markets crash, this group of stocks is hitting 52 weeks highs. Look at that. Forbes, market crash underway 8 hours ago. Market crash underway 8 hours ago. Forbes. And Forbes is a financial media outlet. Look at that. mean, when the market crashes, what are you going to do then? All of our money is based on Wall Street. And that's stupid. That is stupid. All of our money is based on Wall Street. Before it was based on gold. Now it's based on a money market. You know, why people don't work together for a common goal, I'll never know. You know, we could be, you know, we could have free power. We could have, and that's what it's going to end up being. We're going to end up having, people are going to end up having to work at a dam, and we're going to have to barter. We're going to end up having to barter at some point for necessities. You know, we're going to have to all have jobs, kind of like they do in the Hunger Games. You know, they don't make those movies. They don't make those movies for no reason. Because technically, all those movies like Hunger Games and all that crap could really happen. Y'all think it's, a lot of people think that that crap's non-fiction. Or that it's fiction. Or non-fiction, I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm going to get off here. Hope you all enjoyed the show. And I hope you all hey, Zark, is that your name, Zark? I'll keep up the stream, and I'll see you all tomorrow. If y'all like me, subscribe. It says my live stream health is low. So it says YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience buffering. So, yeah, I don't know what that's about, because I'm mine's sitting here at 30 frames a second. Drop frame 0. I don't know what that's about. I'll have to look into that. But all right, everybody. Thanks for viewing my video. Like my video, subscribe, leave a comment. And tomorrow I'll be back with some more interesting stuff about what you're in store for. What we're all in store for. We all need to be prepared, and we all need to get prepared. You know, we do. All right, everybody. DNN is out of here.